All right, so get this. Today, we are diving into um, Jacob Zuma's presidency in South Africa. And, all the stuff with the Guptas and the corruption.
Yeah.
But we're going to look at a theory that says that maybe there's even more to the story.
Yeah, so this MindQuest media piece, they suggest that Zuma might not have been, just dealing with corruption, but maybe playing like a high-stakes chess game
Against, like,
against some unseen global forces.
Okay, so let's break this down. So we know that the usual story is that Zuma is the bad guy.
Why?
But this piece is making us wonder, like, what if he was actually playing defense against something even worse?
Yeah, and they even mentioned John Perkins, right?
Yeah.
And his whole economic hitman thing.
Right.
Which is important here because Perkins, he said that powerful institutions, especially, Western ones, they'll use debt and bad trade deals to, like, control developing nations.
Wow.
So the article asks, did Zuma use the Guptas to, like, fight fire with fire?
Whoa, so you're saying that Zuma was playing this, like, dangerous game to avoid being controlled?
Yeah, like a pawn in their game.
Okay, but why would South Africa be a target?
Well, think about it. Tons of resources, plus it's in a super strategic location.
Right.
And this piece argues that that makes them like a prime target for the kind of economic exploitation that Perkins was talking about.
Right. So Zuma, knowing all this, cuts a deal with the Guptas. And like them or not, they don't exactly take orders from, like, Wall Street.
Right.
So was this a desperate move for Zuma to get some independence?
And here's where it gets good. The MindQuest piece points to examples like Kwame Nkrumah in Ghana,
Okay.
Patrice Lumumba in the Congo,
Right.
Thomas Sankara in Burkina Faso. All these leaders,
That challenged the West.
they all challenged Western economics in their own ways, and they met some untimely ends, let's say.
Oh, wow. So you're saying Zuma saw what happened to them and was like, not me.
Yeah, that's kind of implied. And it makes you wonder, was Zuma just in it for himself with the Guptas, or was there a bigger plan? Was he willing to, make a deal with the devil to protect South Africa?
That is one heck of a theory. But if we think about it, even for a minute, it makes you question the whole story.
Right. Yeah, it really makes you wonder.
So let's just say, like, hypothetically, there's something to this theory.
Right.
What does that mean for how we see, like, corruption in general? Because, I mean, nobody's saying Zuma was, perfect.
No, of course not. And the MindQuest piece, they aren't shying away from what Zuma's accused of, but they want us to think about the bigger picture.
Like the context.
Exactly. Like, what if everything he did, even the bad stuff, came from this place of trying to play this, like, bigger game?
Right, like he felt he had.
He felt he had no choice. Yeah.
Okay.
Like, remember that line from The Godfather where
Oh, yeah.
Don Corleone says, I made him an offer he couldn't refuse? What if Zuma felt like that? Like he was being pressured, threatened even, in ways that people didn't see.
Okay, yeah, I get that.
Yeah.
But who were these, like, puppet masters? What did they want?
Well, the MindQuest piece, they talk about international capital, which is basically
Right.
big corporations, financial institutions, a lot of them Western, that have a ton of influence.
Right, so they're the ones who benefit from, like, getting cheap resources.
Exactly, and favorable trade deals, all of that.
And they would see Zuma as a problem because he was trying to do his own thing with South Africa.
Yeah, he was a threat to their interests, for sure.
And didn't you mention those other leaders? Like Nkrumah, Lumumba, Sankara?
Yeah, and that's the thing. They all tried to change the system, and it didn't end well.
Right.
So MindQuest is saying Zuma probably knew about them, knew what could happen, and he was determined to avoid that.
So maybe the Guptas, as bad as it looks, that was his way of fighting back, playing the game his own way.
And that's where it gets really interesting, because
Yeah.
if we accept that, even just a little, it means we have to ask some hard questions about how the world really works,
Like, who are the real good guys and bad guys in all of this?
Exactly. And the article even points out, even with Zuma gone, have things gotten that much better for regular South Africans?
That's a good point.
Right. So who really won by getting rid of him?
Wow, this is really making me think. So even if we don't buy everything, this economic hitman idea, this MindQuest piece is still, like, a good way of looking at things,
Absolutely. It forces us to think critically, to not just accept what we're told, and to remember that things are always more complicated than they seem.
Yeah, like we have to be like detectives or something.
Exactly. We can't just take everything at face value, especially with global politics and economics.
Right, so how do we avoid that trap? How do we get better at figuring out what's true, especially with such complicated stuff? It's tough, right? Like, how do we even start to check if something's true when it comes to global economics? It's huge.
Hmm. Yeah, it's a big question for sure. What I always try to do is look for different sides of the story,
Okay. Right.
not just one news source, one expert, one study, you know? Got to dig deeper, see who else is saying what, especially if it challenges what you already think.
So get out of our bubble.
Exactly, even if it makes us a bit uncomfortable.
Yeah.
And pay attention to who benefits.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, like who's pushing what agenda, who wins if we believe a certain story.
Right, right. Follow the money, as they say.
Exactly. That usually tells you where the power is, who's really in control.
And sometimes those in control, they like to stay hidden.
Oh, absolutely. Pulling strings from the shadows.
So coming back to Zuma, this Mind Quest piece, it really changes how we see things, doesn't it? I mean, it's made me rethink everything.
And that's a good thing, right? It's not about saying this new theory is the only truth, but it makes us ask better questions, look at things in new ways.
So for our listeners, what's the main takeaway here?
Well, if you get just one thing from this deep dive, let it be this. Don't just accept what you're told.
Okay.
Be skeptical, be curious, and always, always follow the money.